Hello and welcome guys to a new episode on Sport Predict Fanatic. Today we're gonna predict the Wimbledon third round, the first 8 matchups. We're gonna start off with world number 1 Sinner against Kekmanovic. Sinner has won both the first and the second round, with conceding the third set and winning the other 3 sets. The second round was definitely harder though than the first one. He faced Berrettini in the second round, where in the first set Sinner won a tiebreak. In the second set, Sinner was actually a break behind, so Berrettini could have won there, but he didn't. Then third set, of course, Berrettini led, and then the fourth set, another break for Berrettini, but he didn't make use of those chances, and well, ultimately Sinner prevailed and won the match. But that is of course also a special trait of top players, to win in moments where they are pressured, to win in moments where they don't play 100%. So fair play to Sinner. Sinner also really does hold like an impressive record this season. He has not lost any match before the semi-finals and has like 24 wins and 3 losses this whole season. That's, by the way, including exhibition matches. And then Kekmanovic secured a revenge 5-set victory over slightly injured Griekspoor. He lost to Griekspoor earlier this grass season at 's-Hertogenbosch. He lost there in three sets with tiebreaks, which is crazy. In the 5-set at Wimbledon, he came back from a set down twice, so he's 1-0 down and it was 2-1 down, but he came back perfectly. He's actually been in the third round once. He lost that because he was against Djokovic in 2022, which I think was the winner in 2022. So yeah, there's no shame in that, but he's now facing world number 1, so it won't be an easy matchup again in the third round for him. Kekmanovic has actually played top 5 players 10 times and lost all 10. I think it is including 3 times the world number 1. Sinner also holds a record of 3 wins and 0 losses against Kekmanovic, and I think Sinner has only improved since their last matchup, so I expect Sinner to actually win this match. Then we have Shapovalov against Ben Shelton. Shelton had a drop in performance and fitness level in recent times, and it had him fight some long and hard matches throughout the recent matches he has had. This was the same at Wimbledon. The first 2 matches he had 2 5-setters where he had to fight back from sets down every time, or a set or sets down at least. He just doesn't reach his level. The first match was against Bellucci and the second one was against Lloyd Harris. This was also actually the first time in his career that he actually won back-to-back matches on grass, so there's an improvement, but it's not the greatest stat to only reach now. Shapovalov on the other hand has had a really tough 12 months with fitness issues, and that results in him being out of the top 100, I think, at the moment. Shapovalov actually had the chance to win in 3 sets the last match, but he actually squandered it, and it became a long 3-hour match with, 3-hour plus match with 5 sets. And that is not helping yourself when you actually have some fitness issues and everything. But Shapovalov has actually proven last year that he can perform at Wimbledon even with having some struggles. He, I think, reached the second week last year around, and is actually his favorite Grand Slam of the year. This is actually a really hard match to predict due to them both being out of form actually. But Shapovalov being better on grass, but Shelton being a little more consistent. But I think with the 2 wins Shapovalov got, he got a little bit more confident, a little bit better form. With that I think he is going to get this W. And then we have Dimitrov against Monfils, Gael Monfils. Um, Dimitrov actually had a really hard match where he got to use like all of his experience, all of the things he learned in the past years with five setters against the youngster and talented Shang. He was 2-1, 2-0 down, I mean, in sets, but had a remarkable comeback. Last year, he actually missed a place in the quarterfinals in a match where he actually missed several chances against Holger Rune. But yeah, Dimitrov has a really strong record against players out of the top 20. Monfils, of course, out of the top 20. He holds like a 25 wins and 4 losses record against players out of the top 20, so that's really good. Monfils actually returned to the grass for the first time since 2021 and had enjoyed some favorable draws. He played against an out-of-form Manarino, an out-of-form Wawrinka. Monfils' record uit the third round is actually 1 wins and 6 losses at Wimbledon, so he's only progressed once. Monfils actually leads 4-1 in head-to-head with Dimitrov, but the last match was in 2016. I think with the better from Dimitrov at the moment, he will actually get the win at the moment. Yeah, I do think so. Then the next match is gonna be Struff against Medvedev. Medvedev has admitted a few times that he does not prefer to play at center court at Wimbledon, and he literally encountered plenty of problems in the second round against Muller at the center court. He lost the first set in a tiebreak and had set points against him in the second set, but he used also his experience and skill to get him a 4-set win. Medvedev has played below his level this grass season, but this can be due to his fitness problems he has since I think it was the start of the clay season. Medvedev did reach the semis last year and is of course hoping to do so again to defend his points and stay close to the top 4. Struff, on the other hand, has faced 2 tricky opponents in the first 2 rounds with Marathon and Zhang, but he handled them pretty well, winning both in 4 sets. With those 2 wins, he actually made his record 6-1 on grass, making his best ever grass season. Struff has actually never passed the third round of Wimbledon and has a record of 0 wins and 2 losses in the third round. Their head-to-head is actually 7 wins and 2 losses in advantage of Medvedev, but on grass it's actually 1-1, so they're pretty close on grass. And I think here the big matchup experience from Medvedev will actually get him the win. And then we have Alcaraz against Tiafoe. Alcaraz typically starts slow in Grand Slams, and this Grand Slam it's basically no different. But unlike other Grand Slams, he is now actually advanced to the third round without losing a set. But with that said, Alcaraz also hasn't really shown his level on grass this season. But he didn't need to show it until now, of course, because this is of course the biggest moment. But Alcaraz is usually like really freaking strong against American players. He's won 10 out of the last 11 matches he played against Americans. Tiafoe, who is of course an American, has had back-to-back wins for the third time, I mean, this season, so it's not much. He beat Arnaldi in 5 sets and beat the struggling Coric in 3 sets. Tiafoe, as said, has some struggles with form and fitness this year, which also led him to retire from his opening match at Queen earlier this month. Tiafoe actually holds a record of 3 wins out of the 90 matches he's played against top 5 players, but 2 of those 3 wins were actually at Grand Slams. But I think with the form of TFO, Alcaraz will definitely win this. And then we have the matchup Nakashima against Humbert. Humbert came back great in the first set tiebreak, where he was down 3-6 against Van de Zandschulp in of course the second round. He came back to win the tiebreak with 11-9, and then went on to easily win the second and third set due to mentally struggling Van de Zandschulp. He won like easily with 6-1, 6-3. Humbert himself was struggling before Wimbledon, starting Wimbledon with a 6-match losing streak with 3 of those matches on grass. Nakashima had a convincing win in 3 sets against Thompson the last round. That's actually the player who last year at Wimbledon gave him his loss, but Nakashima was struggling with fitness and injuries at that time. Nakashima actually hasn't dropped a set, and he hasn't even dropped more than 4 games in 1 set in the first round, which is pretty impressive. And with 1 more win, he will actually match his best ever result at Wimbledon, which was in 2022. I think this will actually be a really close matchup, but I actually think that Nakashima is gonna get this a W. Then we have a Paul against Bublik, the number 12 against the number 23 seeded. Paul faced some significant underdogs in the first rounds in Pedro Martinez and Otto Vertane, sorry. He first beat Pedro Martinez, that is basically a clay court specialist, in 4 sets. And then second round faced the inexperienced Vertane, who he actually had to fight for in a 5-setter. And with that actually conserving no energy for, well, this round, but also if he advances later on the round. Even with this shaky matchups, he can actually be quite confident. This year is actually his best ever grass season, so he can be quite proud on that. This is actually the 3rd consecutive year he has reached Wimbledon 3rd round. His record in the 3rd round is 1 win, 1 loss. Bublik's path to this matchup was quite comfortable in draw. He faced 2 inexperienced opponents in Mensik and Cazaux. He did have a 5-setter against Mensik, but Mensik has proven that he can actually perform at a big stage. And second round with Cazaux, he won actually in straight sets. Bublik, in comparison with other seasons, has actually been quite consistent this year. But his slams, he hasn't actually been as far as now at Wimbledon. Which is crazy actually for someone like Bublik. But last year he was like the first time he reached the second week at Wimbledon, and I think it was the first time he actually ever reached a second week at a Grand Slam. The head-to-head against Paul against Bublik is actually 3 wins and 1 loss for Tommy Paul. So it is a bit in favor of Paul, but the only loss of Paul against Bublik was actually on grass. I think with that, Bublik will actually get the win over Paul here. Then the last matchup of the day, well, of which my knowledge is the last match, Bautista Agut against Fognini. Fognini is already known for having like some concentration lapses in matches he plays. He has literally proven this in the match against Casper Ruud, where he was 5-2 up in the 3rd set, while he won the first 2 sets. Then squandered that lead and still had to play like a 4th set. Luckily he won the 4th set and went on to win the match with that. Fognini, in the 13 grass seasons he's actually ever played, he has never had more than 3 wins in a grass season. He has now won 3 out of 4 matches on grass already, which is already exceeding expectation basically. Normally, Fognini also doesn't really come far in slams. He's now actually ever has his highest ever round at Wimbledon matched. So 1-1 win, and he's actually beat his old best. He has reached the third round 6 times already, but he lost all those 6 times. Bautista Agut, on the other hand, will be pretty happy with his draw. He first had the out-of-form Barterer, then had the inconsistent Sonego, and now has, instead of the world number 8 Casper Ruud, he is against an inconsistent Fognini. Fognini, of course, holds a record of 9 wins and 3 losses against Bautista, so that is in favor of Fognini. But they've never actually played each other on grass. I think that with Bautista Agut being more consistent and being a little bit better on grass, well, his playing style is more for grass, I think he will actually win this match. But yeah, that was actually it for now. So I want to thank y'all for watching. Please have a great day, and I'll see you.